Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. A few quick reflections from the 20th Juz of the Quran Kareem, which was recited in tonight's Taraweeh Salam. On the very first page, Allah asks rhetorical questions. And rhetorical questions are found quite often in the Quran. A rhetorical question is where the question is asked, but the answer is known. There is no real need to answer. So Allah says, أَمَّنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَأَنزَلَ لَكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً. Is there anyone besides Allah who created the heavens and earth and sends down the rain? Sometimes we just have to take a step back and look up and look around us to get some sense of appreciation of the greatness of Allah. Allah talks at various places of the Quran about the heavens and earth. That look up at the skies. There's no pillars holding it. Look out at the heavens. Everything is positioned to perfection. In Surah Yasin, Allah says, وَالْقَمَرَ قَدَّرْنَاهُ مَنَازِلَ حَتَّى عَادَ كَالْأُرْجُونِ الْقَدِيمِ وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا. You can get a train that is late. You will get a train as sophisticated as it is that will break down. Did you ever hear about the sun not rising on time, not setting on time, the moon not waxing or waning according to its schedule of centuries and millenniums? أَمَّنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Who has created the heavens and the earth? You think with all of your technology and all of your science and all of your advancement, you're someone great? You're nothing in front of Allah. Whatever you have advanced, whatever you have achieved, whatever you have acquired, whatever progress you have made, it's only because Allah has enabled you to make that progress. So Allah asks these rhetorical questions. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْخَلْقَ أَنْهَارًا. Then Allah says, أَمَّنْ يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ. Who's the one who created you the first time and will create you the second time? Allah created you when you were born, and Allah will create you again when you will be resurrected. وَمَنْ يَرْزُقُكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And who is the one who is sustaining you from the heavens and the earth? Whatever comes down from the heavens, whatever comes forth from the earth, who puts effect? You put the seed. Who makes the seed grow? Who gives effect to the water when it hits the soil? أَإِلَهُمْ مَعَ اللَّهِ. Allah asks the question repeatedly. Is there another God with Allah? Is there another God besides Allah? أَإِلَهُمْ مَعَ اللَّهِ. That's why the central theme of the Quran is Tawheed. Oneness. Belief in the oneness of Allah. Belief in the oneness of Allah. Such a beautiful belief and such a beautiful concept. Then moving further in, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala takes up the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. The story of Musa alayhi salam is mentioned in 28 of the 30 paras or ajza or juz of the Quran Kareem. So Allah says, نَتْلُو عَلَيْكَ مِن نَبَإِ مُوسَى وَفِرْعَوْنَ بِالْحَقِّ. We give you the true story. Not the fabricated, distorted, exaggerated versions which you will find elsewhere. Allah says, we give you the true story. إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَى فِي الْأَرْضِ. The long and short of it is this, that the Pharaoh, he rebelled on earth. He rebelled on earth. He claimed divinity. أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. So Allah says that Pharaoh reached a point, and this is famous, but it's the lesson behind it that I want to highlight, where he started to kill the male offspring from the Banu Israel. Why? Because a fortune teller had predicted that from the Banu Israel there will be a boy who will grow, and when he comes of age, he will bring your kingdom to an end. Now, Pharaoh was otherwise an intelligent man. Many oppressors are intelligent people. They're very intelligent people. That's why they are able to do what they do. But look at how his intelligence went through the window when he started to panic. When he started to panic. So he starts to kill all the male offspring until his ministers tell him, sir, with respect, you're wiping out the workforce. If you're going to continue killing all the male offspring, the Banu Israel, who are the working class, because who are the Banu Israel? What does Banu Israel mean? Banu Israel means the sons of Israel. Who was Israel? Yaqub alayhi salam. So how did the Banu Israel come to Egypt? Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam, they were originally from the land of Palestine, that area. So Ibrahim alayhi salam went from Iraq, from Ur, when his father threatened him, like we discussed the other day, and he made hijrah to the area we call today Palestine. So he had a son Ismail, but that happened in Makkah, where he went and left his wife Hajar. that in Palestine he had his wife Sarah and her son Ishaq, and from him his son Yaqub, and from him his son Yusuf, and Yusuf alayhi salam then went across to Egypt. So the Banu Israel are the progeny of Israel, meaning of Yaqub alayhi salam, right up to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. But the pharaohs, the Qibtis, the Copts, they were the upper class, and they made them the working class long after Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. So his ministers tell him, with respect, Pharaoh, but you're wiping out the working force. So he says, okay, now just try as hard as you can, but you're not going to succeed. Where's the logic in this? He says, okay, 1 year we'll kill, 1 year we won't kill. How do you know that the one that's going to bring your kingdom to an end is not going to come from the year when you're not killing? Yeah? Now here's the lesson. The ulama have written, when a tyrant takes his oppression to the highest level, you must know he's starting to panic. It's the beginning of the end. This was the beginning of the end. It took some time, but in the greater scheme of things, it was the beginning of the end of the dominance of not only Pharaoh, but all of the Copts and his entire nation. So, now, the Quran says, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ. They plan and Allah plans. The story, I'm not going to go into the detail, you know the story. So here the ulama say, look at Allah's system, right? Allah could have made it that Musa alayhi salam would be born in the year when Fir'aun was not killing the boys. But Allah made it that Musa alayhi salam was born in the year that he was killing the boys. And yet Allah not only preserved him, Allah brought him up in the house of Fir'aun. And it's interesting, the different parts of the story of Musa alayhi salam are found in various parts of the Quran, but in the 20th Juz, Allah talks about how He bolstered the spirit of the mother of Musa alayhi salam. Find me a mother today also with all the technology. You can put a tracking device on a box. Will that mother put her child in a pool, let alone in a river? There's a newborn baby. Just think about the emotional strength that she had to develop to be able to put her kid in the box. You know what happens in a river? It's not smooth sailing. It can just step over. It's a baby. It can't fend for itself. It will drown instantly. So Allah makes it such. Musa alayhi salam is born in the year when he's killing the male offspring of the Banu Israel. But then Allah says, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي. Allah says, we bolstered her spirit. إِنَّا رَادُّهُ إِلَيْكَ. She never got revelation. That's only for the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. But Allah gave her that conviction from within that this is going to work out. And we know Pharaoh is sitting and is relaxing with his wife, Asi. And she sees this baby and she said, Allah hadn't decreed for him to have children of his own. She said, قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي وَلَكَ. This will be the coolness of our eyes. This was a smart man. He understood, hey, this could be the one. But they say when the wife talks, even Pharaoh had to listen. She said, لَا تَقْتُلُوهُ. This one you can't kill. This one you can't kill. But my point is, look at how the plan of Allah unfolds. The mighty Pharaoh was going into every home. In the books of Tafsir, you find all the details, how people would panic. Imagine when they're raiding your house at night to take you to jail, you panic. Imagine they're raiding your house at night to kill your son, your newly born son. So they would raid the homes, they would catch them unawares to say, right, where's it? Any boy born here, we're going to kill him. Yet Allah makes this boy come on a box in a river right into your own home. Then they say, but Pharaoh was still uneasy, right? So he had to give in. The wife spoke, لا تقتلوا عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا. That, maybe he'll be of benefit to us, maybe we'll take him as a son. وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. If you go into the details of the linguistics and the language, it's something else. Allah says Musa's mother had total peace of heart. Think about it, right? You put your kid in a river. In English we say from the kettle to the frying pan. Yeah, I'm trying to save my son's life, so I put him in a river. Next minute, Pharaoh picks him up. The very one from whom I'm trying to save him, he's the one who takes custody of him. But Allah had bolstered the heart. وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. Now, Musa alayhi salam, Pharaoh puts him to the test. Gives him a toy, puts a toy there. puts a piece of burning coal there. Look at the plan of Allah. Musa alayhi salam picks up the coal, and that's when he burns his tongue. And that develops the stutter. Pharaoh is like, nah, I don't think this is the kid. I don't think this is the kid. So he grows up in the house of Fir'aun until the incident takes place between him and the Copt, where he tries to defend the man from the Banu Israel who was being oppressed by the Qibti, and Musa alayhi salam has such strength that he tried to stop him, he killed him. It was in error. Now he's got to flee, and Pharaoh was furious that we brought him up and this is what he does. That's why when he came back as a Nabi, Pharaoh didn't even tell him this is what you did. In the words of the Quran yesterday, what was recited? وَفَعَلْتَ فَعْلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. You did what you did and you know what you did. You did what you did and you know what you did. So Musa alayhi salam goes now to Madian. Madian is in current day Jordan. That is where Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam was located. When you go to Jordan, they take you to the maqam of Shu'aib. They say that's the resting place of Shu'aib alayhi salam. Allah knows best. It's on the top of the mountain. So he finds the two daughters of Shu'aib alayhi salam by the well, and they're waiting while all the men are feeding their animals, and they're waiting their turn, and he helps them. Now, he is totally forlorn. He is totally without a house, with no finance, with no support. But Allah not only does Allah get for him a job, Allah gets for him a wife also. After he helps them, they come back and they say, my father's calling. He wants to know who helped me. Who's this one who helped my daughters? And this daughter says, Ya abad ista'jirhu. In tonight's Tarawih, Inna khayra man ista'jarta al-qawiyyul ameen. The best person you can employ is one who is strong and trustworthy. Meaning he's got the talent, he's got the ability, and he's trustworthy. Sometimes people are trustworthy, but they're stupid. And other times they are intelligent, but they're not trustworthy. Very rare to find both. That's why when Yusuf alayhi salam said, make me minister of finance, he said, Inni hafidun alim. I've got the knowledge of finance. I also have the integrity not to mismanage the funds. So I'm giving you what you will find in the HR booklet, right? That this is what you look for in an employee. Talent, meaning ability, as well as the necessary integrity that goes with it. You need both. Now, why did Musa alayhi salam get a wife and a job? Because he made a dua. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir. Verse of tonight's Tarawih. Oh Allah, I'm desperately in need of whatever you can bless me with. I'm all alone here. I grew up in the palace. And life is like this now. Another lesson. From the box in the river to the palace. From the palace to being exiled. Life takes you up, it takes you down, it brings you up again, it takes you down again. Even Musa alayhi salam was not exempted from that. I'm just cutting the story short, highlighting a few points. Now Musa alayhi salam, after many years, he works for Shu'aib alayhi salam. His mahar is he must work for his father-in-law. How about that? Any father-in-laws, do you have something like that in mind? I don't want a gold coin, I don't want mahar Fatimi, you work for me for 5 years, you get my daughter. Anyway, now he's on his way back. This part Allah mentions in Surah Taha. Musa alayhi salam tells his family, so Allah says, وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى. Do you know the story of Musa? إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا. They're traveling in the darkness of the night, and he sees a bit of light on the top of the mountain, Mount Tur. So إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا. He tells his family, wait, just listen, hold on, you stay here. إِنِّي أَنَسْتُ نَارًا لَعَلِّي آتِيكُم مِّنْهَا بِقَبَسٍ أَوْ أَجِدُ عَلَى النَّارِ هُدًى. Let me go there and check what the stories are. Maybe I can get some light, it will help us, get some fire, in other words, to light up the way, because they're traveling now back to Egypt. He's now with his wife. He's making his way back home. When he gets there, what does he find? وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. Musa, it's Allah. I've chosen to you, listen attentively. إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدْنِي. I am Allah, worship none besides me. First instruction to Musa alayhi salam, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Perform salah. Perform salah. Now coming to the point I want to make. Musa alayhi salam, look at how life, and I'm tying this up with what I was speaking about after Asr. Life is like a ship in the ocean. Yeah, so from the box in the river to the palace, then he's exiled in a foreign land. Now he's coming back as a Nabi. He's coming back as a Nabi. Now the greatest position that can be granted to a human is the position of Nubuwwat. Today you get some promotion, you feel I'm the man. Your head is in the clouds. Look at the humility of Musa alayhi salam. Allah is telling him, وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ, I chose you. Allah makes no mistakes. So Musa alayhi salam would have been justified in taking a position and saying, well, if Allah chose me, then I'm someone special. Look at the dua of Musa alayhi salam when he gets nubuwwah. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Oh Allah, expand my chest. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, make my task easy for me. وَحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي, remove the knot from my tongue. They say a leader is more aware of his weaknesses than he's aware of his strengths. Musa alayhi salam knew, I got a job to do now, but my tongue is the problem. My tongue is a problem. So he said, oh Allah, I need you to expand my chest. I need you to make my task easy. And I need you to remove the knot from my tongue, yafqahu qawli, so people can understand me. I can't stammer and stutter when I'm communicating the message of Allah. Right? So that's the one part of the dua of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. But I just digress for a moment. You see, Musa was Musa, but Muhammad was Muhammad. Musa alayhi salam said, Rabbi shrah li sadri. Oh Allah, expand my chest for me. When it came to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Allah said, Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Have we not already expanded your chest for you? And Musa alayhi salam said, وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. Oh Allah, make my task easy for me. Allah says, وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. We've already removed your burden, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. And we have exalted your profile. Every minute in the world, adhan is being given. So every minute in the world, the name of Allah is being taken, and immediately thereafter the name of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is being taken. When Adam alayhi salam made tawbah, then he didn't get a response from Allah when he came to earth. Then he said, oh Allah, I ask you by virtue of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that forgive me. So Allah responded and said, oh Adam, how do you know who's Muhammad? He said, I don't know who he is. But as soon as you gave me life, my eyes fell on your throne and I saw inscribed, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. If you put someone's name alongside your own name, there can be none greater than him. Anyway, coming back to the Musa alayhi salam. So look at the humility. Leaders are humble. Leaders know more where their weaknesses are than their strengths are. That's what makes great leaders. Now coming to this juz here, look at the selflessness and the broad-mindedness of Musa alayhi salam. He gets the top job in the world, but he doesn't want it for himself. He says, oh Allah, وَأَخِي هَارُونُ هُوَ أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا فَأَرْسِلْهُ مَعِيَ رِدْ أَن يُصَدِّقُنِي. Allah, I have a stuttering, stammering problem. My brother Harun is a good speaker. Make him a Nabi as well, so together we can get the job done. You see, leadership is not about reserving the glory for you. Leadership is about whoever needs to join me in order for us to get the job done. A quick last reflection towards the end. After talking of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah then talks about Qarun. And this is the contrast. Musa alayhi salam is granted the greatest position and he remains humble. He's granted the greatest position, but he's not stingy nor greedy that it must only be for me. Oh Allah, let my brother Harun also be a Nabi because he's got a skill that I don't have. And we require that skill to get the job done. But Qarun on the other hand, إِنَّ قَارُونَ كَانَ مِنْ قَوْمِ مُوسَى فَبَغَى عَلَيْهِمْ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْكُنُوزِ مَا إِنَّ مَفَاتِحَهُ لَتَنُوءُ بِالْعُصْبَةِ وَالْقُوَّةِ. They had camels upon camels just carrying the keys to the treasures of Qarun's wealth. But what did he say? إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. This is because of my talent that I have so much wealth. And that was the beginning of his destruction. That was the beginning of his destruction. And I'll conclude with this. People talk about the different challenges to face the Ummah. And indeed, ideological challenges can corrupt the faith of a believer, and hence ideological challenges will always be given the most attention. But from a practical spiritual level, in my humble opinion, the biggest challenge facing the Muslim Ummah today is that of materialism. We want to live like the Jonases, especially in the age of social media. And then we only look towards the young. Of course, they are impressionable, they are more vulnerable. But even today's middle-aged elderly person has become victim. And people became victim. They were just in awe of the wealth of Qarun. But the ulama told them, وَيْلَكُمْ ثَوَابُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لِمَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. Listen, wealth is good. Wealth is a neutral thing. If you use your wealth in the right way, it's a great bounty from Allah. I gave the example of Uthman radiallahu anhu the other day. But most people fail the test of wealth. Most people. Because it makes you negligent and it makes you arrogant. Therefore, you need to be very careful. Sometimes Allah hasn't given you because Allah knows you can't handle it. You can't handle it. You lose your moral compass, you lose your values, you'll even lose your faith. So hankering after the lifestyle that others are projecting on Instagram is a cancer that's eating away at our society. That's why we're so unhappy and we're so ungrateful. Allah gave you a beautiful wife, you look at somebody else's dolled up wife. But you don't know what she looks like without makeup. Allah gave you a lovely car, you look at somebody else's spiced up car. But you don't know that he's owing the bank all the money, they're about to repossess it. Allah took you for a decent holiday, you look at somebody else, hey, he went to an exotic, you look at Instagram, look at his WhatsApp status. We're losing our minds in this quest to be part of the bling culture. It's got a new form because we live in the digital age, but in principle it's exactly what happened to Qarun. And it's exactly what happened to the people who were impressed by the wealth of Qarun. Look, you want, then be Musa. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. Allah gave him nubuwwah, Allah gave him the daughter of a Nabi, Allah gave him Izzah, and Allah gave him the miracles. When he came back, how he came back? How he came back? Now he came back to Pharaoh and he says, Inni Rasulu Rabbil Alameen and arsil ma'ana Bani Israel. You've got to now liberate the Banu Israel and send them with me. Eventually, the Banu Israel leave. Pharaoh pursues. You see, when a tyrant panics, he acts illogically. If your enemy are retreating and they're leaving the land, why must you pursue them? Why must you pursue them? But this is the plan of Allah that culminates now. It started way before. When Musa and Harun alayhi salam made dua to Allah, then Allah, now Pharaoh is gone way above board. There's no hope for him. Destroy him. Allah said, قَدْ أُجِيبَتْ دَعْوَتُكُمْ, I've accepted your dua. But Pharaoh was only destroyed 40 years later. So this whole process took time, but the decline had already set in when Pharaoh started panicking by slaughtering the boys from the Banu Israel. So he pursues them and they stuck between the army of Pharaoh and the sea. Like they say in English, between the devil and the deep blue sea. And the people panic and Musa alayhi salam says, Inna ma'iya Rabbi sayyadin. Allah is with us. And we know Pharaoh is drowned. But you know, when Pharaoh was drowning, now he says, Amantu annahu la ilaha illa alladhi amanat bihi banu Israel. That I bring Iman. But he had so much of pride and arrogance that he couldn't take the name of Allah. So he says, I bring Iman in that being on whom the Banu Israel have brought Iman. He doesn't take the name of Allah. But the response is, Al-an, now? Too late. Too late. So Allah says that he was destroyed. And then Allah talks about it in another place of the Quran. كَمْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ جَنَّاتِ وَعُيُونٍ وَزُرُوعٍ وَمَقَامٍ كَرِيمٍ وَنَعْمَةٍ كَانُوا فِيهَا فَاقِهِينَ. All his palaces, all his gardens, all his rivers that made him proud, that made him arrogant, that made him think, I'm the man, I'm the boss, I'm in control, no one can touch me, no one can do anything to me. The very people that he oppressed were أَوْرَثْنَاهَا Bani Israel. It became their inheritance. And then Allah says, and this is what I want to conclude on and drive home. Listen, you live your life in the obedience of Allah, Allah will give you dunya and Allah will give you akhirat as well. You live your life in the disobedience of Allah, Allah will destroy you in the dunya and Allah will destroy you in the akhirat as well. This mighty Pharaoh who reigned for centuries, because those days the lifespans were much longer. That mighty Pharaoh who could slaughter people and no one could do him anything. That mighty Pharaoh who said, Haman, build me a staircase into the heavens. I want to tackle this Allah that they're talking about. فَمَا بَكَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ. Allah says no one in the heavens and no one in the earth cried for him the day he was gone. No one in the heavens and no one in the earth cried for him. Today, if indeed it is him, Allah knows if it's not or if it's someone else. But if that's his mummy, that's what he is. That's what he is. فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. The reason why the Quran repeats these stories all throughout the different ajza of the Quran is for us to learn these lessons and remind our lessons over and over again, because the struggle between haqq and batil never changes. It will take a different shape and a different form, but the core concepts always remain the same. May Allah grant me and all of us the tawfiq wa